We all know that a lot of soldiers lost their lives in the Civil War. A lot of soldiers lost their lives in battle, but it wasn't always battle that caused their demise. And John, as we're looking here, you've got a display here that's showing some of the medical practices. And, you know, medicine has come such a long way, we sometimes take it for granted. But during the Civil War, it was a little bit more rudimentary than what we have now.
When they said practicing medicine, they meant practice.
I see.
They did not have degrees like we do today.
And it's a shame, because they could have done so much for people then.
And they would worried about boiling things, and even when they had to use horse hair to sew things, they would boil it, but then they used their bare hands and contaminated
all over
and
again.
Lincoln, they did the same thing when he was assassinated. They stuck their bare hand right in his head. And we see the everyone thinks of medicine as the cutting legs off and limbs off, and that did happen.
There were a lot of
have equipment of that,
right.
and your success rate was dependent on how close to your heart the cut was.
I noticed that there are some pictures here. Are there some significance to the pictures that we're seeing here in this display?
Well, these are all veterans who had gathered after the war, and the photograph in downtown Delta is significant. We have very few from the Civil War. In February of '64, the town celebrated the men coming home on furlough and made this huge banner across the downtown.
So they welcomed them back home.
'67.
And let them know that they appreciated what they were doing and they were behind them, and showed them their support. Now, when a soldier lost their life and the family received that notice, there were some customs and things that people did as well, and you're showing that in this particular room.
The exhibit's Hell and Home Front, so we wanted to show the home front issues as well as the battlefield. And we have a clock that's been stopped at the hour of the soldier's death, and we have a lot of black clothing that was traditional because of Queen Victoria losing Prince Albert. She created these traditions of wearing black for a certain amount of months, and then you could slowly introduce color into your wardrobe. We have a young girl writing to a boy who ends up dying a month later from this letter, and a lady who's had to run her store all by herself in Wauseon here, and then a black cloth that was used for Oscar Hibbard's funeral, and then again for Lincoln's assassination, was tacked up on the front door of their farmhouse.
And I also see a mirror that's covered. I didn't know that was a custom.
Right, that is still done in some faiths, where the vanity of looking at yourself in the mirror, trying to subdue all your worldly aspects.
Yeah, sure. Now, Northwest Ohio has another significance from the Civil War, and that is the last living veteran from Ohio was in Fulton County. Is that right?
He came to Dover Township as a little boy in a covered wagon.
Really?
And died in I think it was 101 or 102 in Wauseon in the 1950s. And the Judy Miller is his great-granddaughter in the photograph, and she donated this picture to us of him being recognized as the oldest.
Oh my. Now, one of the other things that's obvious, and we were talking about the way Delta decorated when they welcomed their troops home, is as the war gets along, there are organizations that form that remember the veterans and remember what they do, and you've had some strong organizations that remember that as well.
The GAR, which we call the Grand Army of the Republic, was formed after the war, and Wauseon had the first unit. This is their minutes from their first meetings. The GAR in Delta, we have their original charter, and then the ladies formed a relief corps later in the 1880s, which was like the mother unit of the GAR. And these were all very important for camaraderie and morale for the soldiers. It had never been done before in an American war. So
Sure.
there were so many soldiers from this war that they needed something like this.
Now, John, you're showing this particular display along with the other displays that you have here at the Fulton County Historical Society. When is the society open for people to see this display?
Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 4 and Saturdays 10 to 2.
All right. And now this is, you're looking at 1861 right now. You're going to be changing it eventually. How long does this display continue to?
Be December of 65, which would be December of 15.
Okay.
And then we'll be going into the 75th anniversary of World War II.
All right, but you'll be changing this every year.
Yes.
As the war progresses.
During the winter.
You'll be doing some things and changing it through the time. Are there other observations or commemorations you're going to be doing during this celebration of the Civil War and remembrance?
Yes, this month on May 21st, we're having a reenactment out in the park across the street from the museum, and we'll be pretending to recruit soldiers so kids can go from station to station and have their teeth checked and have their physical and then learn how to hold the rifle, and then at the depot they'll learn about transporting and how everybody was, forced into boxcars and moved all over the place.
Is that a typical examination to become a soldier for the Civil War?
Well, at the beginning, they didn't have very good rules, and a lot of older men that shouldn't have been there were there. The 4F, which means 4 front teeth, was the only requirement, because you have to rip the little paper bag that has the gunpowder in it to put in your gun. So that's what a 4F is. So if you're kicked out for a 4F, that means you're missing one of your front teeth.
Okay. So the regulations got a little more stringent after that.
And if you were under 18, they had a wooden plaque with the number 18 on it and told the kids to stand on there and said, "Are you over 18?" And they said, "Yes."
Aha! So they weren't real stringent at the beginning.
Yeah.
No, very good. John, I really appreciate this. This has been very interesting, and I learned a lot, and perhaps we'll even be back and learn some more as we continue. And we hope you've enjoyed this initial version of Hometown Memories, and continue to watch as we continue to explore the fascinating history that's all around Northwest Ohio.